been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream. So how many of you guys remember whenever we first got this van, we did a video on it? Well, as the title of the video suggests, this thing will be eventually going bye-bye. And it's after he makes his trek back to Ohio. But I want to show you what it looks like in its worst condition. This is dirty, needs washed, needs waxed, and it's seen quite a bit of mileage on the road. So I'll go over all the features of the van as I did in a previous video, probably a voiceover, but still there's a lot of stuff that's in this van that is going to go with the van. Now, if you remember, he got in that accident, a lady rear-ended him. Yeah, this door needs to be slammed shut there. That door always needed slammed. But what I wanted to show you more than anything else, good thing we got that extra spring. It really helped out. But more than what to show you anything else is the deer damage. You can still see the fur that's here, and you can see the front grille where it's been smashed. But everything's solid. Everything works fine. The air conditioning's still ice cold. The van don't overheat. There's no issues there. It's just the and the hood opens and closes and all that stuff. But you can see the damage that's here. Again, something new. I don't think that's a make or break for somebody that's wanting to travel, and I think that you'll be happy with the van overall. So again, this is the worst case scenario, what it could look like all beat up. So now let me talk about all of the features of the van. Still a few things that need to be added and tweaked. He hasn't moved into his van completely. We started off with van build series, and I think, series 1, and moved all the way up till, I don't know, maybe 10. And a lot of the stuff wasn't step by step. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We just want to stimulate some sort of an idea of what you may want to build out your van and how to do it, and just some of the layout and why we did some of the things that we did and how we did them. So let's go ahead and flip you around and introduce you to Buddy and his van. So this is our son Buddy. Say hi. Hi. And this is his 1988 Ford Econoline. It's an XL, it's not an XLT, and it's a club wagon. It's got a 302 in it and an automatic. So what we have is an earlier video that I'm going to use to basically talk about the van here. So the van, when we first got it, of course, is in perfect shape. However, you can imagine that he's added probably double the miles of what we received it at. So there's some condition differences, obviously, as notated, as far as like the deer damage that's on the front. Still drivable and everything, but it's got to be notated. There was some damage in the back. But let me talk about the van here, what we're looking at. There is a port in the side, an RV port. For that power cord, there's a reel that you can reel that cord in and out. That'll allow the inverter inside to power and charge the batteries and run accessories inside. It's actually a 30 amp charge controller that's inside, way more than what he needs. You could probably add a small rooftop air conditioner on it and run it if you so desired, but that's up to you. It does have the roof vent. We'll look at that a little bit later. But as far as the condition of the van, there were some things that we were concerned with. We added a generator mount on the back in a storage box that you'd find like on a dump truck. And the extra weight of that, plus everything we added inside, we went ahead and put a add-a-leaf on the back. We had a shop put an add-a-leaf in the leaf spring, and on top of that, we added a sway bar on the back, an aftermarket sway bar that helped considerably with the way that it handled going down the road. Also, there is a ton of modifications I'll talk about underneath the hood and overall with suspension. Anytime you see links are in the description, just ignore that. That's from the previous video. Unless you want to go in and try to find the van build series, you could look at everything that we did on the van. as it happened in detail. There's a receiver on the back, a hitch receiver with a 4-pin connector. But in the front here, lots of repairs have been done. All this stuff has been notated on the hood or underneath the hood on the cowl. So let me see if I can figure out some of this stuff and you can see, or maybe, so you can't see obviously there. Some of the stuff that we're not looking at currently is on May 2020 at 122,000 miles, put a new AC air compressor, smog pump eliminator, got rid of the smog pump in the catalytic converter, new water pump, new timing cover, new high flow thermostat. We have the belt number notated for that smog pump eliminator because it got a new belt, new water neck outlet, new bypass and heater hose, new oil pan gasket, new clutch fan, and a new lower radiator hose. We also put on 4 Gasmatic shocks. We did the rear sway bar as mentioned, a brand new master cylinder plus reservoir. We also did that add a leaf as mentioned. That was back on 7/20/20. And of course, a brand new radiator. Now, when we first got the van around 100,000 miles, a little under that, alternator, brand new, a new IAC valve, you know, that's the idle air control valve, new valve cover gaskets, new fuel filter, and cap rotors, wires, and plugs. What I was showing you there initially that you're looking at now underneath the hood was back in 2018 at 98,000 miles. We did all new brake pads, new rotors, new seals, calipers, new hoses. All the entire brake system was flushed. New wheel cylinders, new shoes, all new hardware, and new drums. A lot of work that was being done there that helped it out considerably. And this does have power windows and power locks. He also added a remote keyless lock, you know, to where you can, with a key fob, unlock it. I shouldn't say keyless. I guess you need the key fob, so that's considered a key. And it also has remote start. So if it's a little bit cold out, you're laying in the back and you want to use the van's furnace to, or the van's heater, I should say, not furnace, but heater to fire it up and get you warm. Or vice versa with the air conditioning. It's ice cold. You just hit the button a couple times and it'll start up for you and run. There's a couple carbon monoxide detectors, or one in particular to keep you safe in there. That is a dash cam that he has there. I don't think the rear camera's hooked up. The big rear camera is. That's a backup camera. But what I was saying, there's a dash camera up on the windshield. But the dash, or the brake rear backup camera, that is hooked up. So you just turn that on. As you drive down the road, you can see what's behind you. He did upgrade the speakers. They were a little bit bigger, so we had to make some spacers there. It does have a brake controller if you decide to tow anything. There is a 4-pin connector on the back with that hitch. Also, I think he has added a buzzer. I don't know if the buzzer's still connected. He was having a problem shutting off his van and forgetting his lights on, so there was a buzzer that used to warn you that we added externally. Again, I don't know if that's still hooked up. It does have tilt steering, not telescopic steering. One of the things that I'll tell you, there's a problem. It needs a new turn signal cam. He says he's got to hold the turn signal stalk for it to flash. Basically, you know, normally we would just push your lever down and it would continue to click. He says it doesn't hold position. He's got to hold it there until he makes his turn. Again, that's a turn signal cam you can buy at the auto parts store. We love the double door. It really helps out with getting in and out without doing the whole sliding door. You see he has running water. That is a cord that's powering that little pump that's up top there. He's recharging it. It does have a battery in it, but he usually just leaves it plugged in. And that's a freshwater source. He has 2 of those. They're 7 gallons each. It's a quick release so that you can just go fill relatively easy and then come back and snap it in place, and it doesn't lose its prime. And then the drain goes into that large white container for your gray water. So it does have running water. So it is self-contained. Now, he did have a Thetford Curve flushable toilet in the back, but he removed that. He wasn't using it, so he got rid of it. He said he could use the space instead. I suggest you put it back in. He got rid of it, you know, but you can purchase one online on eBay, no problem. And it will fit in the spot that's in the back, which we'll show you here in a second. He does have that little propane single burner that he cooks with. He says it does an exceptional job. There's also a splash shield. I don't know if you can see, it's just kind of laying there. That splash shield is for 2 things. obviously grease splatter, but also to block the wind in case he has the door open and it's a little windy. It doesn't blow the flame around. That's what I was holding there just briefly. That is a nice addition, and it was cheap. A lot of people don't do that, and they just let it splatter wherever. Now to the meat and potatoes of things. That is a very expensive, I think $800 refrigerator freezer that runs on a 12-volt compressor or household electricity. You can plug both things in as he has. So he has it hooked up to the battery, and he also has it hooked up to household current. It dictates the household current as being the primary source of running the compressor. However, once he goes and unplugs that yellow cord from the garage, in this case, as soon as he does, that refrigerator freezer kicks over to running on 12 volt. With the van, you will get this big 30 amp charger controller, which is not cheap, and that small power inverter. You can definitely add a bigger power inverter if you'd like, but that's all he was using as far as household appliances inside. He just wanted to make sure his laptop was being utilized, and that does that just fine. And underneath that, in that box, is two AGM batteries, two sealed batteries. They are, if I'm not mistaken, 100 watt-hour apiece. They are very good batteries, and to give you an idea, whenever he was out in Colorado, for 3 months he forgot he left his refrigerator on, and he left the van pretty much set in the driveway. He would drive it occasionally, but he was never plugging it in, and he said the batteries are fine, and the refrigerator was ice cold after 3 months just on the solar panel that's on the roof. Again, 170 watts. You can see everything that we put in here and built. So you can imagine the extra weight and why that add leaf was needed. Nice little shelf in here. He kept all his canned goods. I think he took the curtains out. I think they were getting in his way. He just didn't like them. I'm not sure, but I think those are gone. Again, an upper shelf there. Just a good build. We liked it. Now, as far as the inside here, that's a brand new Max Air fan that sits flush mount on the roof. It has its own built-in cover, so it can be raining with that open, or you driving down the road and no water's going to come in. That's a really nice fan. The whole van, whenever it was purchased from Ford, has insulation underneath all of that panel and carpet. So that carpet is basically glued to some sort of like a panel, like paneling, and then underneath that is thick batten style, fiber batten style padding, and it's glued to all the panels inside the van. I'm going to tell you, it makes a huge difference, because we pulled some down to work underneath there when we were doing that fan, and man, when we put our hands up against that hot roof, you could tell definitely. So it's very well insulated. It's nice and quiet inside. The floor is carpeted and also insulated. Of course, the back here, carpeted. It's just for the way that it looks. It doesn't need to be on there. I guess it adds some sound dampening inside. These pieces here are removable, this Reflectix, and the nice thing is this is something that we got with the van, and they don't even make these anymore. These are custom screens that are made so that the bugs won't come in whenever you have your windows open, and you can still open and close your windows. As you can see here, that's what he's demonstrating. That's just the latch that opens the van window. You can see it closes, and then you just zip that back up. It's nice. It's a well thought out thing. That way you can leave those open, turn on that Max Air fan, no bugs are coming in, and no creepy crawlies, and it'll pull that cold air over the van. You can see here the fuse box that we added. We've only used a few circuits for the stuff in the back, and there's plenty of room for that. That runs off of the battery that's underneath the hood, the extra auxiliary battery. Again, there's 2 batteries underneath the hood and 2 AGMs in the back. And the AGMs are just used for the refrigerator, freezer, and whatever you want to plug into that charge controller. Of course, here's the carbon monoxide smoke detector, as mentioned. If you're running the generator that's not shown here, or if you're just running your van, you want to have that just so you don't poison yourself with gases. Again, I would suggest getting another one of these commodes. You can just slide it around the corner there to utilize it, and then you're going to see here, lifting the bed, you can get to storage. That board there is on a hinge. The one in the back is not on a hinge, so you could remove it altogether if you need to put something in and out of there using the back door. So the van is in pretty darn good shape. I would suggest this being a good way to start to get into this lifestyle without having to go through the entire build yourself. But one of the things that we did install that was probably one of the biggest benefits, other than the dual batteries that's underneath the hood, we have 2 sealed lead acid batteries that are in that compartment there. And of course his power inverter, and then we have a converter charger. Whenever the batteries go low, right now the only way that we have this set up to charge, because again he has dual batteries underneath the hood that power some stuff back here, is basically a cord out the port. So let me show you that. That's what this is here. We put this hatch in place. It used to be that there was a furnace here. There was a bathroom in here from the previous owner. Normally we just plug this in to an outlet and that's how it gets charged. Well, the problem is whenever you're not in a situation where you can plug in. So that's what this is back here. He has a little 1,000 watt generator that I did a video on in the past. Click that and it'll take you to basically us running it and showing stuff that it can do. But the thing is he may be in a situation where he can't necessarily run his generator. So ultimately we know that solar is the answer. So if we go up on top of the van here, you can see there's nothing except for the max fan that we installed and the old stink pipe for the old commode that used to be in there, which is nice because it's the right size. We don't have to drill a hole and it's all sealed off for the most part. So we just have to kind of modify this a bit. One thing I want you to be aware of, which our son wasn't aware of, is how big the panels are when it's compared to a full-size van. We were wanting to put it across the van from this side to that side. The problem is we wanted it as close to the roof as we could get. That's why we're using those Z brackets that are right over there. And you see how cloudy it is. I mean, the sun just totally went away. But even with the clouds that are going on, the 3 lights on the solar charge controller that's dirty from my hands, light on the right is green and it's solid, and that means the MPPT controller is working and it's in a bulk state right now. It is in a bulk charge because the batteries were low. They haven't been plugged in for probably 2 weeks now with no input whatsoever. Now the cables, of course, I got linked to them. We're going to go ahead and secure these up out of the way, but that's really not necessarily needed for this part of the installation, or just throw together really. This isn't a full-blown install video, like I said. And as far as the controller, it's pretty easy to read. It's not lit up. The one thing that I can say that I don't care for is the battery temperature is shown in Celsius.